Hi, Taylor. Are you feeling better?
I am. I'm still a little, but better.
That's good.
Hi, everyone.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Taylor, you're feeling, I guess you're not at work or.
I am at work, but
Okay.
feeling better. A little, trying to stay away from people today.
Yeah. Glad you could be here. Hello.
We'll get started in just a few minutes. Wait for a few more folks to show up, but welcome and Happy New Year to everyone who has come so far. And feel free, if you'd like, to introduce yourselves in the chat. I'm just adjusting my glasses because I still have not figured out how to keep glasses from fogging. So if anyone has any handy tips or hints, maybe you want to share them in the chat. Especially with the N95s, I'm finding it more tricky. So maybe there's a brand, who knows?
I saw some tape at one point you can use like on it. I'll look for that again. Kathy.
I've heard
Awesome.
some people do a Band-Aid, but I wiggle around my mask way too much for that.
Yeah.
Like you put a Band-Aid here and then
yeah,
it's kind of on the, yeah.
You know how like for your car, they have that like anti-fogging stuff? I wonder if it would work the same on your glasses.
Well, unfortunately, yeah, I think what is some of us have coatings, and so that
Yeah.
makes it tricky. Oh, it looks like you have something.
I do, but it doesn't always work. It's this little cream that you rub on, and like the instructions aren't on this, but you have to leave it on for a couple of minutes and then buff it out.
Got it. Got it.
But I did it yesterday and it didn't do anything, but today it seems to be working. So
Oh,
who knows?
good to know. I'm guessing it's Michael thing. And welcome to those of us who are, it looks like Mark, you might be here for the first time. So welcome.
Cool.
That's super awesome. Okay, and if you notice that Adrian just shared the agenda, so that's in the chat, so you can all take a look at that. And we're just going to do welcome and intros, info share. What are you looking forward to the new year? And reopening plans and updates. And we'll instruct at the end, give you kind of a little bit of information about how to join the new community practice, which is just a new place for a new landing spot for information sharing.
Julie's reporting that she had to request access, so I'm going to change the permissions right now. All right.
Yeah, Parabrise had the same issue.
If you all refresh, let me know if that's still happening.
It's good now.
Yay!
While we wait, I'm going to share my latest 3D print.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can. This is the SpaceX Dragon capsule.
Nice.
Completely,
How many pieces is it?
I think there are like 69 pieces.
That is awesome.
It comes apart. There's a top piece. There will be a place for the astronauts to sit and little astronauts also.
Just try it again. They changed the permission.
About 120 hours to print that.
Did you use that flash forge behind you? Nice. So since everyone.
How do you like that flash forward? Oh, excuse me.
I love it. It's worked pretty well. I've done a variety of different materials on it also. That's the Guider 2. It's about $1,000. Pretty good print capacity too.
So it looks like we might have some new individuals. So do we want to just do a quick introductions, maybe who we are, where we work, and then I can start and then just we can popcorn pick people. That way we're not having any awkward silences. So I am Adrienne. I am one of the YOUmedia program coordinators for a few more months, and I am recently new to the Boulder Public Library. I move around a lot, as you all know. Anybody that's been in the network for a while knows this. But this is my second week here, and it's been really great. I'm beyond surprised. For most of the pandemic, I was at CU Boulder, so I was not in public libraries, and I'm beyond surprised at how busy we are here. So I am going to pick Julie.
Hi, I'm Julie Kozlowski. I'm at Chicago Public Library and I work in our admin department. I'm the outreach coordinator. And I'll popcorn it to Brian.
Hi, I'm Brian Donop. I'm at the Free Library with the LEAP program. We were part of Maker John back in those days. And I will popcorn it to my colleague, Javon.
Hey folks, my name is Javon Ellis. Also work with Brian at the Free Library of Philadelphia. Also working with LEAP, the Literacy Enrichment After School Program. We're finally getting our staff back at our different neighborhood libraries. So that's been pretty exciting when it's not closing down due to COVID outbreaks. I'm gonna pop it over to Eric.
Hey everyone, I'm Eric. I'm the digital media coordinator at Chicago Public Library. Happy to see everyone. Let's see, let's pass it to Vanessa.
Hi everyone, I'm Vanessa. I'm the teen librarian at Billings Public Library in Montana. I run our tech lab, which is our makerspace digital lab. And I will pass it on to Taylor.
Hi everyone, I'm Taylor at the Chicago Public Library, and I'm the manager of YOUmedia at the Harold Washington Library Center, which is our downtown main branch. And I will popcorn it to Marcus.
How's it going? My name is Marcus Brown. I'm the lead facilitator of the Kansas City Digital Media Lab, the Southeast branch here in Kansas City, Missouri. And I will pop it over to my coworker, Clarice.
Hi, I'm Kyrice Devine. I'm one of the facilitators here at the Kansas City Digital Media Lab, the Southeast Branch Library. So I'm gonna pass it to Brian.
And I already went, so I'm gonna pass it to Judith.
Hello, everyone. This is Judith at the Rockwood Makerspace here in Portland, Oregon. Good to see y'all. Let's see, has Adrienne went already?
I haven't gone, just me. I think maybe.
Kathy, I think Christina, and maybe.
Oh, and Mark.
Mark, yeah.
All right.
I'll go if that's okay. I'm Kathy. I'm with the San Francisco Public Library, the mix at SFPL, the teen space, and I'm one of the program coordinators about to sunset, but still will be very involved with the network. And welcome everyone who has come before, and welcome all to all the people who are joining us for the first time. And I'll pass it on to Mark.
Hello, I'm Mark. I'm with the Hartford Public Library. I'm a youth mentor here. I'm in charge of the mixed reality area, which is 3D printing, animation, and virtual reality. I'm definitely interested in learning later who, if anyone actually has virtual reality in their program. Thank you. And I'm not sure who is there one more person?
Might just be me at this point, I think. Hi, Christina
Hi.
Cantrell with the National Writing Project and just kind of a YOUmedia fangirl. So thanks for letting me be here.
She keeps us running. She really does.
Indeed. So at this point, I think we just wanted to open it up for everyone to to chat, kind of open forum. What are you looking forward to in the new year and reopening plans and updates? And we can just do open style, I think, and I'll just sit back and we can give feedback.
Or if anyone else is doing virtual reality, that does sound cool.
Yeah, well, we actually, that's interesting, Mark. We had been doing VR before the pandemic and we at the Mix. And since reopening, we've really had one team who's been consistently coming because they're unhoused. And so it's been a real lifeline for them to be there. So it's been great because they've basically had the run of the place. So we've been simultaneously using the opportunity to have this person there to, gently reboot some of those things that are more challenging to do. So we're actually about to have conversations with the city of San Francisco's health and safety advisor, who has been the library consultant, or a lot of people's consultant, who have to do public service in terms of what is safe. And so we've already gotten some guidance for her, for example, about our audio studios, that we have to keep a certain amount of time between use. So we're going to try to see if we can, what recommendations she has about the headsets, how to keep them safe and how to share them. So anything I find, I'm happy to share it with you, but we're just, it's kind of an interesting time because we have so few people. The ones who come, it's like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I have it all to myself, and simultaneously welcoming them, yet also preparing them for the eventuality of sharing. So anyway, that's just I guess that's my VR reopening and reopening update at the same time. And I'd say aside from that, the challenges of just trying to help somebody who, a teen, a very young teen, a 13-year-old teen who is unhoused, trying to navigate that and, doing everything that we can, which is not, of course, not very much, but of course, while that teen is there, we can provide them a very, a safe and environment where they can hopefully thrive. Thank you.
We also had VR pre-pandemic, but haven't brought it back since reopening. But I will say, and we're, I think, trying to answer the same questions that Kathy was talking about what's safe for our teens. But I will say, on a personal note, got a Quest, and I have been so surprised how much easier it is to use than the system we were using pre-pandemic. And now really thinking about how do we update and start doing Quest so teens can really get set up themselves and we don't have to worry about base stations, because things are moving fast in the world of VR, and I'm pretty impressed by it.
Yeah, other than gaming, I'm trying to institute a lot of the art programs. There's a lot of different creation tools that you can use within that. Adobe Medium, you can actually sculpt things and then end up 3D printing them out, which is great. We actually have teens coming in now, and we make sure to have the silicone covering over all the headsets, and then we wipe them down. There is something that is better, which is an actual machine that you put them in. They're a little pricey, and it kind of ionizes all the stuff. I was actually at it was called the Augmented World Expo in November in San Francisco, or actually in Santa Clara. And they would have people try on the things, but they would put them in these machines and it would just get rid of all the germs. So.
Thank you, Mark. I just want to welcome my colleagues, Anna Sidovich and Eric Hannon, who, and I don't know if you just heard, we were actually just discussing VR. Mark, who is at the Hartford YOUmedia, and Taylor, who is at Chicago Public Library, have been talking about just how the leapfrogging of both VR technology has gotten better. So some products for us to look into, but also just some of navigating some of the same challenges. So feel free to jump in and share your experience so far as well. Thank you.
Mark, is there a name of the sort of cover you use, the plastic you're using for the VR headsets?
There was a replacement silicone cover that came with the Quest headsets because there was a problem with people getting an allergy. So they're actually giving it to us for free, and it's just it goes over the kind of the cloth. It's silicone face covering, I guess it's called.
Okay. Great.
But those are pretty good.
And then Judith, you have your hand up?
Yes, because I'm we do that a lot in my library system, and it's really hard for me to just jump in, because the moment I jump in, somebody else talks and then I cut them off and I feel terrible. So let's see. Reopening plans. Man, we are very focused on our mini kits. We did these as a pilot program, and now they are system-wide. It used to be you could just pick them up at my branch, the Rockwood branch, but now you can pick them up at any branch. And so that project is huge, which means that the whole space is taken up by boxes, and we're the main distribution center. But our reopening plans are a soft reopening sometime in spring. We're hopeful. We're starting to do virtual programming. And by that, I mean programming online. Because we were just talking about AR and VR. So hoping that happens, we are in the process of hiring another program specialist. I am one of the program specialists here, and our friend Desiree was our other program specialist. They will become the summer reading program coordinator, and that is their title now, but they're still helping us with mini kits in the makerspace. So wonderful of them, but eventually, you know, they got to do their job, and we got to get another buddy. So that's something we're in the midst of. It's exciting to get a new friend. It's also a little scary because you're like, Desiree and I were definitely, we called each other work wives, and we knew, and we're like, we have this great relationship, and now it's like, oh, I got to do something with another person. So that can be a little scary. We are looking forward to equipment. We are getting an embroidery machine. Not just a sewing machine with, you know, attachments, but like an embroidering machine. It's gorgeous. And we are very excited. It should get here sometime in February. So playing around with it and creating training for it, and thinking of programs we could do, that's going to be awesome. When y'all were talking about VR and AR, we had partnered with some lovely friends in Metro East. It's a local media nonprofit, and they did a 360-degree video for us. They came out to the makerspace, they recorded it, and then we had just the little plastic, almost like Google Cardboard, but a little fancier. That, I don't know if you've seen them there. They look kind of like those squishable lunch boxes that squish down to get smaller, very much like that, with lenses, and people could put their phone in there to get a little feel for VR. We have not looked into the headsets. It is something that we don't see our community asking us for yet. We have a lot of gamers, and they really enjoy the PC, like PCs. They wanted nice, souped up, you know, high graphic cards PCs, and that's what we got. We have seen a lot of demand from the grown-ups to learn more about virtual reality and augmented reality. So we had a presenter who does that. It was a little bit challenging because when you are trying to create virtual reality and augmented reality, it takes from so many different crafts. You got to know some computer programming, and you got to know some, you know, animation, and that part was a little hard, but our presenter, you know, did their best. And so we are looking forward to, yes, easy AR apps like Mark is mentioning. I heard something that was going to come out in the Adobe bundle that was going to have some, or either that or the, I'm thinking of the new iPhones and just the capabilities they have. Like it's something about VR, and I got to look it up and share with y'all. But so that's my big unloading of what Rockwood Makerspace is up to. Lots of changes and attempting to support our branch as well. You all might be doing the same, where they talk about how, you know, we need to be available. We are trained in IS and reference and all of that. So information services is what we say IS is. And so like, I may end up going to the branch and helping out during this Omicron as we, you know, float through it and hope it passes. We may need to pause our mini kit production and programming for a little bit, and I may go out there and just help with basic services. So that's my sharing. And yes, to a bedazzler, I love it. We will make budget for it. Thank you y'all for listening and letting me share.
Are we waiting for people or? Okay, so I'll
You're
go
next,
ahead.
Marcus.
All right, just making sure. So yeah, one of the things that we're looking at just in our processes is just really documenting what we're already doing for the purposes of one, program evaluation, and also two, how can we start looking at those pieces, those as we lay things out at that skilled level and that novice level, how can we make sure that like what Kyrie does in the studio has a novice level that the other facilitators in the lab can take advantage of. The same thing with the person that we hire for art, making sure that we have that novice level. What is that thing that all of us can do? But then when you're not there, we say, well, we can do this. But when the expert shows up, you'll be able to go to the next level. And then again, like I said, for program evaluation purposes, as we're looking at, just how we level young people up in the space, we want to just be able to look at some milestones that we've, allowed for them to see or accomplish. So that's one big piece that we're looking at is just the overall program evaluation. Another big piece that we're looking at is a math tutorial component. I was actually a math teacher before I started working here at the library, so I kind of bring that back to the table. But again, we're not looking at doing this big hairy thing. We're just talking about basic skills and general mathematics, so that again everybody in the lab can help facilitate the process. Um, Bigger in that we recognize where we're encountering these young people, and also we're kind of gearing our programming a little bit more towards tweens as we start looking at things. We're not eliminating teens, but we're trying to grow young people into our space. But what we see overall with these whole concepts of STEM and STEM, the people that struggle the most with it are the people that don't have the basic skills when it relates to these math and science components. And so understanding where we are and where we're meeting these young people, primarily, at their freshman, sixth, seventh, eighth grade, what is it that we can do to help you be able to make an informed decision? Make sure that you have basic skills. So if the math teacher in your freshman algebra class doesn't have the wherewithal to make sure that you understand that you need to master basic multiplication facts and give you a calculator, we'll make sure you understand. Again, not trying to be all to everything, but trying to meet the learners where we really have them at that most point and just get those basic skills up so that they can, at least be able to really consider this stuff. We're partnering with the organization here called Parent Power Lab that's going to assist with us on some advocacy stuff, and also bringing the parents into this the fold of what we're talking about as it relates to STEAM and STEM education, because they hear these buzzwords, but what does that really mean to a parent? It means one thing to a practitioner, it means another thing to a student, it means a whole total nebulous thing to a parent. So we're going to partner with them, one, so that we don't have to recruit parents and into the process, but also to be able to share the type of work that we're doing so that they can get a better understanding when they're advocating for their child, or when they hear certain things that, oh, well, my child wants to be well, what does that really require and what's happening in their math class? If you don't have no compass for that, then it's hard to have that conversation and make this stuff happen. So that's kind of the reason that we're doing it in the long term, but also to kind of help with recruiting and getting parents involved in our processes and looking at a bigger pool of young people to work with. But more importantly, understanding where we are on these young people's trajectory of development and making sure we're solid in that respect. So, Kyrie, you have anything you might add? Don't feel obligated. I just okay.
Thank you so much, Marcus. It sounds like you guys are doing an amazing and
Yes.
thoughtful job meeting teens where they are, and really being thoughtful after the pandemic. I think we're in San Francisco. I knew we're doing very similar soul searching just in terms of where we can provide supports that teens don't have in the formal education system or in their homes. So I think it really goes back to the opportunity that each of us have as workers. And, I think exclusively today, it seems like we're all part of public libraries. So this real freedom we have as informal educators, I kind of hesitate to use some of these words that can be kind of loaded, but just at the same time, really just being kind humans for other humans so that they can kind of learn how to be good citizens. I think really at the end of the day, that's a huge part of what we're doing. So, and helping them realistically, like if they say they want to do something, how is it that they're going to attain and achieve those skills in a world that expects everyone, in America that has this expectation that everyone is an individual and somehow we're all going to come together as individuals. So I feel like more than ever, I'm very hopeful that our public libraries are continuing to do all the things that we hope and aspire for them to do, but that all of us are actually doing it on the ground together. So it's very inspiring to hear what's happening in Kansas City. Thank you for sharing, Marcus. Would someone else like to share what's happening in their space right now? Those of you who joined late were just kind of a Happy New Year updates. What's happening in your space? What are some of your challenges? These could even include staffing. Some of the challenges, we certainly have been no stranger to that in San Francisco. We have been caught by the Omicron vortex is what I've been calling it in terms of staffing. So we have all been, gracious and patient and kind with one another in spite of, flaring tempers and lots of hanging balls and drop things and everything like that. So feel free to chat if you'd like. Oh, Eric, go ahead.
Morning, everyone. Hope you're all doing good out there. There's certainly no shortage of challenges in our work these days. More specifically to the mix and YOUmedia labs here. We were hoping and planning on reopening our music and video studio in January, and we're poised to do that and resume kind of where we left off back in, the before times. And then Omicron hit, and in checking with our Department of Public Health representatives, we found out in order to do it safely, that our studios need to be aired out for about an hour after each use. So that put the brakes on that effort. So if you folks out there have enclosed studios, I'd be curious to hear either live or in the chat how you're handling the safety as far as the air goes for singing or just being in the space, because being in the enclosed space of the studios, even if one isn't singing or playing a wind instrument, is dangerous. So they're closed until we don't really know when, maybe post-COVID, whatever that looks like. We're not really sure, which is a bummer. It's a major challenge because it's a popular thing in here, especially the music studio, and draws a lot of teens in. But it is giving us some time to get the studio set up. And in the video studio, which is a little harder to get teens involved in, kind of rethink how to simplify it and make it more attractive to the beginners out there that may become more skillful in using it, how to get them in there in the first place, because the video studio has been a challenge. So, that besides all the other challenges we're facing with staffing and patrons not coming in the numbers they used to, and the trauma, that's one that's smaller in some ways, but is affecting our work a lot. So anyway, nice to see you all. I'm gonna shut up and pass it to someone else now. Thanks.
Well,
Yeah, I can talk about the Free Library in Philadelphia. So if you're unaware, at the Free Library, we're actually in all 54 branches. And we also do programming for elementary to teenage. So challenges there. Hiring has been a real challenge this year. It's instead of like doing a sort of like fall hiring, it's been an entire year of hiring in small groups. And then we've also just had, especially with Omicron, just lots of closures. Like I'm at McPherson, I'm at one of the branches, and we had an exposure here and had to close for a week and a half. And it's just, each week there's multiple exposures across the Philly system. So all of those are real challenges. Things I've been doing here at this branch. One is sort of reintroducing a lot of the programs and activities that were very popular when I first started. So, you grow a culture and things change and people are sort of like adapted, and we were closed for a long time. And so just everyone came back, and it was sort of slow going in terms of getting the youth engaged in activities. So one of the things that was very popular when I first started was doll houses. So I've created an elaborate dollhouse with the lights, which it works as a great way of like introducing circuitry, and just like reintroducing just the sewing machine and making pillows. All of those sort of like early activities have sort of like are my effort to get everyone sort of back into that culture of making again. And then the other thing too is just sort of like triage. So when I came back to this branch in June. We didn't do programming at that time, but I was at the branch, and we actually found a bunch of our teenagers engaged in the drug trade. So we did some triage programming on like trying to help them find summer jobs. And so now with that in mind, just thinking about how we can prepare to like help our teens find jobs this spring, so that that's not something we're dealing with in the summer, right? So that's just something like start brainstorming on how we can actually sort of address some of the needs that we're seeing around. So that's what's been going on in Philly.
I can share about what's going on in Chicago. I can speak to what's happening here at our downtown library, and I think Julie and Eric can fill in what's happening more at the city level. It's been a really challenging beginning of 2022 for us. We have had really high attendance in our YOUmedia space. We have a fairly new high school that is in the downtown area, just a few blocks from the library. And they have early release every Thursday. So we've been seeing, we were seeing around 90 to 100 teens coming into our space. CPL doesn't have capacity regulations, which was really challenging. And I think something we're encountering, others have talked about, recognizing the trauma of these past 2 years on our youth. And I think also on top of that, there's a lot of kind of a social, emotional development that they've missed out on. So we're finding that these teens we're working with, a lot of the strategies that we would use to sort of create the culture of our space and work with them, we really have to go back to strategies we've used with middle schoolers, which has been a real shift for our staff. And we've had fights in the space. There's been a lot of conflict between the students. And they're all new to our space, so we haven't developed relationships with them. And when there's that many teens in the space and only 3 of us, how do you develop relationships with that many? So we worked with our security team and our library administration, and we set a capacity limit of 35 in our space, which has just made a world of difference. Teens kind of understand this now, understand they have to plan when they come and go. And I think what we're seeing now is that there's more activity, teens wanting to do things, because when the space was so overfilled, there was no way to kind of approach activities or approach staff to do things. So we're starting to see teens, using our resources more. So, using our 3D printer, vinyl cutter, talking to staff about what's going on. And it's made a huge difference for us, and really thinking about those ratios of staff to youth and how we're determining that capacity, not just for general COVID safety, but in terms of like how much attention we can give to teens. And so we have a security guard who sits by the door and has a counter and counts up and down. Also, I love this. My staff came up with this. We have a bathroom pass for the teens because the bathroom is very far away. So they don't lose their spot in the space if they need to go to the bathroom. They get a bathroom pass. It feels very silly, but it is working for us. So there's that. You know, we're working through it, and I think rethinking strategies and thinking about how to connect with these teams. And things are looking up. Also, on top of this, the school that has had weekly early release has had early release every single day for the last 3 weeks. So from 1 o'clock when we open our doors until we close, we are full and we're tired. But we'll get through it. But we also don't know how long this will be going on and how long teens will be having half days. Also, teens who only go to school half a day have a lot of energy, which is a good and a bad thing sometimes. But you know, we're offering a few internships this fall, one with the Studs Terkel Radio Archive, a podcasting internship. We're doing a Best of the Best internship where teens will be reading, recommending books. And we've gotten, at this point, we're at about 150 applicants, which is blowing my mind right now. So things are looking up, things, you know, rough patch, moving through it. Teens are 3D printing, they're sewing a lot. I don't know if anyone else has had this experience. Our teens are much more drawn to like tactile activities now than digital activities. So we're really trying to support that as much as possible.
Wow. Thank you so much, Taylor and everybody, and Brian, and of course, Eric. And also there's some really good feedback happening in the chat. So if you aren't taking a look at the chat, please take a look. There's some, I know Anna would love to see pictures of your dollhouse. And there's some really good suggestions from Julie about video engagement, you know, and that's something, yes, that we've thought about that, partnering with some local high schools that have those kind of programs. So it's been wonderful. And also, Taylor, the same thing with regard to tactile experiences. We at the Mix have found the same thing, that there is just this real craving to actually touch and hold on to things. And that is definitely becoming part of our communication about what you can do in the space, that you actually make things with other things and have people to, you know, ask questions about. And yeah, anyway, anyone else would like to jump in?
Taylor, did you talk about the Gamers Guild at all? It's just this awesome program that Taylor's running.
Yeah, we've been doing a program called the Chicago Teen Gamers Guild. It's part of an Illinois Library Association grant. And we have a team of 12 who are working on planning a game con that is going to be in person in May. We are running into a roadblock of not being able to announce it because, you know, the world right now. But yeah, they're planning the whole thing, and they've also planned 8 events that will happen across different library branches all around gaming. So they're doing cosplay events, tournaments, a thing they're calling Showcase Roulette, where you spin a wheel and pick a game to play. That's like, they have curated a list of games for that. And they're also designing their own game, a scavenger hunt style game that will happen at the con. So they're also doing play testing as events for that. It's really fun. At our meeting on Tuesday, one of the teams showed us how to make a katana out of paper for cosplay, and it was very cool.
And I can jump in with the kind of like broader perspective of what's happening in YOUmedia is like around the city in Chicago, because it's a bit different from what's happening downtown. But our locations that pre-pandemic used to see like anywhere from 5 to 15 teens a day are seeing more like 5 to 15 teens a month. And there's a lot of kind of like staff struggle around, you know, I was hired to program with teens and I want to be doing this and I have all these ideas, but I don't have the teams, and some staff feel safe having workshops in person, some don't. So it really like runs the gamut in terms of some of our branch locations are only offering virtual programs, some are doing in person, some are experimenting with hybrid models. And like Taylor was saying, you know, we usually plan some of our like bigger initiatives months in advance. And so we're running up against this idea of, you know, spring and summer programs, what is a reasonable thing to be talking about right now in terms of what we can do in person? And what are the kind of like feelings that are coming up, and do we just need to have plan Bs for every one of our programs in terms of if they have to go 100% virtual or be a hybrid event in some way? I think there's still just a lot of uncertainty that we're wrestling with on a daily basis, and we're seeing that weight on our staff for sure.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, everyone. I think that the constant uncertainty is definitely taking its toll. And that's one reason why we're really committed to keeping these hangouts going, because we really want folks to know that this is a place where we can share together and reconnect and connect together, and also troubleshoot together. And I think with that, it might be a good time to make, unless anybody would like to comment further, we do have a new, I'm going to say the wrong word of what it is called. What is it called? The new community of practice. So maybe we want to spend a few minutes talking about that again, Christina, or just what we hope to, what people would like to maybe talk about also at future Hangouts, because it is 10:40 right now. And I know I'm going to be mindful of everybody's time, and everyone's busy, I know.
Sure. So I just put in the chat a slide deck that we made about the new community of practice. And this is a slide deck that we would encourage you to share with your colleagues too. So we're trying to shift a lot of the sort of, let me just back up for a second. So why a new community? So we had this community for many years that was hosted by Aztec, the Association of Science and Technology. And there were lots of organizational changes that kept happening in it that we weren't aware of. So things would change sort of without us knowing. And we were trying to find a place that would be a little bit more stable and sort of run by YOUmedia itself. And the folks at Pima County set up a space for us, the Pima County Public Library System. So right now we have, if you go to slide 7, you'll see the sort of 2 links for join and a link for logging in. So you first have to join the site, and that's what we'd encourage you and all of your colleagues to do. And then log into the site. And we're really still building the site, as you will see. We have been working with, we have a group including Kyrese and Marcus and Adrian and Viha from LA Public Library and Caitlin from Birmingham Public Library. We are working still to get a meeting together to sort of organize like how we're going to get resources, past resources into this site. But we do have a little team that's sort of ready to start to take this on. But we would like to get folks invited to come in there and start posting and start to imagine what the space could be like. For example, Mark, just thinking about there's a place in the website that allows you to create reviews of different kinds of technologies and resources. So the 3D printer that you were talking about, and it's a place that we can start to share some of those pieces, as well as notes from this meeting or questions for the network. So Adrian, do you want, I'll turn it over to you for a little bit if you want to say anything else, but we just wanted to keep bringing it back into the conversation so we start to really get the community in there.
Yeah, just plugging a couple of things, thinking about today's Hangout. Marcus, you were talking about creating, like maybe documenting curriculum, and I've been looking at the old resources, and I was like, oh my goodness, Art Lab had this great template for curriculum that anyone could probably reuse. There's so many good things in there that we will eventually migrate over to the new space, but also like there's been a lot of interesting topics that we could just continue through discussions on the new site, like working with housing insecure youth, or working with parents, or Judith just talked about self-care as a topic for a future. Yeah, Art Lab's format is wonderful. Judith talked about, talking about self-care at a future hangout. So, I mean, let's just reinvigorate this new site that is actually easier to use and keep our conversations going, I think.
Yeah, I agree, Adrienne. And I just want to say that so much of that content is really evergreen, and it provides each of us an opportunity to augment that with any content that we have created, and as also a forum for us to tell our story. I think it's a little bit more of really is designed to be a working resource for all of us who, as we all heard, I see us all nodding our heads. Everything is resonating and echoing. So nationally, we are all experiencing, although they might manifest just slightly differently, many, many, many of the same issues and challenges.
One thing I'll just say about the site too is that it's a fairly stripped down, it's a fairly simple version of a community that Kendra Davy, if you know Kendra from the Pima County Labs, and her husband manage for their, they live in an intentional community in Tucson, I think. But Sean Davy is the one who manages it, and he's happy to customize it for us. So part of what we want to talk about in there is what we want that community to be and to do. So so that we can really sort of ask, so that Sean has some direction of where we want to go. The first thing that we want to get set up are just some mailing lists that'll ping you and remind you about these hangouts, and then we can send the notes from these hangouts after it. So just some like basic things, notifications and that kind of stuff, so that you we all get reminded, oh yeah, we can go to that community and find these resources. So those are some basic ideas that we're working on. I just want you to know that we have very very active thinking partners in this community.
Thank you for that, Christina. And I just wanted to say, I think that this is just a great time to we here in San Francisco haven't been open as long as some of the folks, like I know Chicago never closed. So I know that's got to be adding to your, incredible stress. So, here to all of you who are, now we're feeling the pain that you felt probably in March of 2020. So our hearts go out to you even deeper. But just a reminder to those of us who are just kind of grappling with those reopening things, to don't be shy to, connect with, or email our partners. This is to, my colleagues here, that we can talk to our friends in Chicago and Philadelphia and other places, and Hartford, that it's really awesome to remember that we're all here. We're, thanks to, it's kind of interesting how we've just leapfrog a lot of the aspirational things that we are all hoping to do. The pandemic kind of forced us to get there a lot faster. And so, some of the stuff that was like kind of not far away, but a little more, of course, it's still clunky, and it'll always be clunky a little bit, because I think that's the other thing, of course, like in our situation, we're dealing with refreshment of equipment. So just all of those kinds of constant challenges that you deal with in a media lab, where, we're really trying to have things work and have them be accessible for teens and have them have a good and positive experience, so that they have some success with things mostly working. But on the other hand, I do see this as part of representative, some of the challenges we have, some of the challenges of life that teens are going to experience in their life, in their lifetime. And so I think in so many ways that we have this wonderful opportunity. It's really hopeful to be part of this ecosystem that is hopeful and thinking positively to try to support young people along their journey of growing up.
So Kathy, one question I had was that the program coordinators had talked about potentially having an SEL focus next hangout. And I was just wondering if anybody here had anything that they'd like to bring to that next hangout. Does that seem like a fair question at this point?
Absolutely, yeah. And just again, SEL, I'm sure most of you know, social emotional learning. I think Taylor really put it on there that we're
Yeah.
seeing people, and we've all experienced it, people who are a year or younger than we might have expected them to be in terms of, developmental assets. Do you have feedback about that? Yeah, next hangout is Thursday, March 17th. We had this idea that we would focus on social emotional learning. So we'd love to hear your ideas about what we might do and how we might support that moving forward.
I think the self-care in makerspaces just segues so well with that idea of or teen social and emotional learning, while also, I mean, here we are, the caretakers of this space, the instructors, teachers, for our teens, for youth, or adults too. And man, it is, it is rough. So I'd love to hear ideas and ways that y'all self-care, because I live in my head so much, and it's so good to just live in yours for a little bit and like, okay, so here's how you self-care. That might work for me too. So I'm looking forward to next time.
Thank you, Judith.
Well, yeah, I was just going to add that given the flexibility of our environments, you know, lends itself to have some of those larger discussions with these young people that a counselor who's tasked with that couldn't do, just based off the number of people in the building. So again, because we don't have to have the same evaluation processes, so we can start off the day saying, oh yeah, well, we're going to draw hands today. But if something heavy happens and then we never draw hands all week, there's no problem that didn't happen if we was able to deal with something, again, because we're talking about, we might have these young people for 3 or 4 hour blocks sometimes, 2 hour blocks sometimes. Teachers don't have that same flexibility. They may get them for an hour and it's pointed on a certain subject. So I think it's just, within the context of that component, just looking at our landscape and seeing how it's just different from other environments that allows for us to have some of these conversations in a subtle way, or have people come in. We actually had a situation now where the school district is checking back with us about a student that was having some issues, and so we wanted to reach out to the district to see the school district to see what they had available. And then, so they did have a grief counselor available, which was great. But we didn't, go the extra miles and start plugging in all of these things. Just kind of gauging those processes. But it was good to see that, one, they were reaching out and they had resources that were available to us when and if we needed. So just I think it's just really looking at that landscape of how we can maneuver a little bit better than a lot of folks is key.
Thank you, Marcus. And Eric, of course, added crossword puzzles and the endless stream of corny events help us keep our sanity here in the mix. That is true.
Marcus, I was struck too by the work you were talking about with parents too. I feel like that's related, although like also complex. So it might need its own kind of time, but
yeah,
that just
I think so too. I mean, I think that that's always something that we grapple with. We want to keep our spaces dedicated spaces for young people to learn independently. We all know the importance of other adults in young people's lives, so that can be a very tricky navigation. So we look forward to hearing more about how that goes, and we love Absolutely. To hear more. Support each other.
Yeah, that's why we plugged into a whole organization that could facilitate that. So I don't have to organize the parents. So when I get a parent that comes into the lab that says, hey, we want to do a little bit more, I can say, hey, here's an organization that you can attach to. And then again, the role that we play. So it's not necessarily about bringing the parents into space, but informing them of the space. And also, how do we do consider that during the daytime when we're not open for young people. So that's the other, side of that we're looking at as well with some of the parents.
I see. That's so interesting. So that's a kind of thing where you might do that kind of thing where a parent or an adult might come in during your non-public hours. That is something that we have done in the past too. And again, all these things, like, it's so interesting. Many of these things that we did in the past can kind of snowball in complexity. So I think that that's, I think one of the acknowledgements that we're all understanding more, just how complex all of our work is in general.
Yeah. And it's not lightweight stuff, sometimes, and I don't know, we've been running into this thing just, again, partnering with the local districts, partnering with other youth serving organizations. They somehow have the idea that this is, play or not serious, or we're not professionals, or this whole school of thought is like, oh, well, that's cute. Well, yeah, it is. And it's a whole lot more as well. So, yeah, that's just really a thing. Again, me and Christina kind of had that conversation some time ago about how we don't play second fiddle to quote unquote formal education, if you will, with everything that we're doing. Because this is a full school of thought with professionals, that could rival a lot of organizations that we are, connecting on. I'm gonna stop.
No, what you're saying is stuff that is completely resonated, and actually thinking about it in terms of communication. I think it's all about communication, and that these spaces give teens an opportunity to communicate with real people. Although we're not doing intergenerational maker programs at the mix, just the fact that young people are with adults is, working in the library in maybe a different capacity than they've encountered them in spaces that are outside of their home and school. That in of itself is it is cross-cultural communication. So with regard to intergenerational making programs, we haven't done that, but I do have some ideas for, hopefully we can relaunch our basically teens helping out. I have a dream for teens helping out. We had a teen computer corps in our branches in the past, so I'm hoping to be part of a team that someday relaunches something like that here at our main library, because I think that intergenerational programming is so important for all the reasons, not necessarily in our spaces in themselves, depending on the kind of space that you have, but somewhere, somehow, because I think we're all realizing that communication is the key to our survival. So everything you've said resonates very deeply with me, Marcus, and especially about, and Judith, nodding your head about what we're doing is indefinitely learning and educational, all of it, and holistically so, and works in partnership with all of those other things like formal education and having as much as possible, supportive home life. And we know that so many young people don't have that, which exemplifies the importance of our spaces. And so I think that this space together provides us the community and self-care that we need in order to do this very difficult work, because I know in 3 minutes we're all going to go back and jump into the world of this work, which has significant emotional labor. So I just want to say thank you and congratulations to all of you for being part of it. I'm just proud to know each and every one of you and sticking with it. And those of you who are new, like Mark, there's probably a collective, I don't know how many years of experience. I know Taylor started in 2009, the original YOUmedia flagship space. So I just want to kind of remind everybody that this is a great opportunity for all of us to get together and communicate with one another for any challenges, or just want to say hi and, talk about Wordle, which I've been hearing all about and I have to try. So I'll stop. So please, anyone else would like to say something for the last 3 minutes, please do.
I'll just mention one thing on the theme of intergenerational making programs. One of our colleagues just walked in, starting their shift now. I don't think they're on the meeting right now, but Joseph made these paroles. They were maker kits that he made of lanterns from the Philippines, and they were available to people who wanted to pick them up. And it was just outstanding, the care that was put into the kits, and just the reaction from the community. People were so excited, and they're saying, I'm going to do this with my kids. grandparents came in, young people came in. So big shout out to Joseph. I don't want to put you on the spot over there, but that was just incredible.
Yeah, thank you, Anna, for pointing that. So yeah, we have been doing it in terms of the takeaway kits. And I should say Joseph specifically. Joseph Ferrer is our newest librarian. And he can't be here today because his shift just started, but we're just so happy to have had him join our team. So I look forward to him to be participating in future Hangouts with you all. Thank you.
I was just thinking that it would be so cool to see some pictures of these in the community practice. The dollhouse was mentioned. So there's places to upload pictures and write a description, and I think people would really be jazzed to see some of this stuff. So
thank you for that reminder. We'll make that. And we know telling our, this, I think of like one way to think about this, it's another thing to do, but on the other hand, it's another way for you to have a place that you can tell your story and then look at it this way. You can bring all that content back out when you need to report it to your folks who you need to report what you're doing to for your evaluation and all that. Well, it's 11 o'clock and I know everyone has long days ahead. I also want to say, I think my colleague Lita is the mixed SFPL, so welcome. So you had the most mixed representation that we had in quite some time. So it's so wonderful to have everyone here and of course, all of you. So spread the word. Hopefully we can have even more folks here next time, but it's been so great to spend time with you this morning. And yes, kind of echoing Jovan, you've given me a lot of inspiration as always. And yes, all of you have given us lots of inspiration. So please, I guess homework would be if you mentioned a product or something you're using, take an opportunity to, let's each of us take an opportunity to crowdsource and put something in the network and reach out if you need help connecting. Can reach out to me, my colleagues can reach out to me and I hope I'll have the answer. And yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, and thanks of course to Christina, who is our wonderful, and Anna is a consummate note taker. So that is yeah, you and Anna, you should meet someday and compare note-taking notes.
Note nerds.
ooh, I just wish I could draw them, that like drawing thing. I would love to know how to do that.
Yeah, so the notes of everything we have talked about today have been scribed by Christina. Thank you so much. And we'll see you all in March, and hopefully everything they say is true about Omicron and we're on our way to reopening, but if not, we all have the resilience and to keep on going. So thanks so much. So great to see you today and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Take care, y'all.
Thanks,
Bye.
Kathy.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Christina.
Take it
Have a great
easy.
day.
Thanks. Bye. And
Thank
hi,
you.
Lita, and bye.
I'm gonna save the chat.